Okay, so today we're going to go through our standard operating procedure for pulling soil samples in the field. And this is one thing where Continuum Ag, we can really set ourselves apart. We can do an extremely consistent job and make sure that we're doing things better than the competition. So what we're going to look at today is basically we're after the sale. You know, we've already sold zone soil sampling or soil health sampling. After you do that, we got to evaluate the field, evaluate whatever data the farmer's got, whether that be yield or just soil type data that we can get from online. We've got to be able to utilize that to make zones in the field. I typically shoot for 6 to 10 acre zones. Definitely want to be a little bit under 10 acres to make sure that we're fulfilling the needs of a manure management plan. Because we're not always sure if a guy is on a manure management plan or not, or they just need that data at some point anyway. So making zones just shy of 10 acres is a good thing to do, and helps be extremely economical for the farmer, the landowner as well. The main thing now that we want to talk about today is when you're in the field, how we pull those samples. So go out to a field, go out to your zone. We'll have, it'll all be in the iPad, it'll all be GPS ready to go. Go out to the zone, and what I typically do if I'm on a four-wheeler or a walk-in is I'm going to choose 8 points in the zone, and I'm going to pull 2 samples at each point, 2 cores. Okay, so we're going to aim for about 16 to even 25 or 30 cores for a sample. 36-inch cores with the probe. Make those extremely consistent across the board. That way, no matter who is pulling those samples, they've got to be consistent. 6 inches for the Haney test is what that's calibrated for. When I go out to a point in the zone where I'm going to pull my sample, I take the row. If I'm on a 30-inch row, specifically, if I don't have a row out there, if it's in the fall, if it's broadcast application, or if it's soybeans or something like that, the row thing doesn't matter as much. You kind of just pull from all throughout the area. But for 30-inch corn, I want to be extremely representative of the whole field. If we're taking some zone samples, if we're looking at a specific product that's separate, that's different. But if I've got a 30-inch row, I split that 30 inches into 8 different segments. So I've got one that's directly in the line of corn itself. I've got one that's 1/8 of the way off of that row, then 1/4, 3/8, halfway, and so on across the row until I've got 8 different segments of row. Typically, it's easy just to go out there and look at, okay, here's my halfway point. Half of that is 1/4, half of that is 1/8. Or to be able to kind of split that up when you're out in the field. So the whole point there is to be able to be consistent across the row. If the farmer has the fertilizer directly in a band between the 2 rows, and we're only sampling that band, or vice versa, we only sample in the row of corn itself, we might not be fully representative of everything that's out there in the field. So that's why we take from all throughout the row. Utilizing every 1/8 of the row helps to be very consistent with that. With 16 cores, you pull 2 cores from each 1/8 of the row, and there you've got your 16. So when I go out to a field, to my point in the zone, I typically take maybe 1 from directly in the row, and then 1 from halfway between. So I've kind of got my number 1 strip versus my number 5. And then I'm able to just keep moving over. Keeping track of where I'm at in the field works really well. After you've got your 16 or more cores, take all those in your bucket, mix it up really well, crunch up some of the big chunks of soil, and then pouring that into the bag. You won't end up using everything. We want to have an overabundance of soil out there. That way we can mix it up extremely well. And what we end up sending to the lab is very consistent, is very thorough, and is very representative of the field itself. And that's the key to being able to pull the samples that we are, the high dollar samples that we are, the specialty samples that we are on zones, so we can be more cost effective and still get extremely good data. Thank you.